You're tuning in to Flawed and Fabulous. I'm Ashe, and I like to think we're all flawed, but we're also fucking fabulous. Today we have a very special and dear friend of mine, Nadine Muller, joining the Flawed and Fabulous podcast. Welcome, Nadine.
Hello, and thank you so much. That is the best opening I have ever. I've been on a few podcasts. I freaking love that.
Why, thank you. I'll take that. It took me a long time to rehearse that and get it down pat. A long time. Lots of mistakes in the beginning, but we get there in the end. Now, Nadine, let's get into it. Let's not muck around. Let's know who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Yay to this. So hello to those of you listening in. My name is Nadine Muller, and I am a life coach and business mentor, and I have quite a background and history, and one that I definitely know we're going to delve into today, because it truly has and continues to birth this mission that I'm truly on. And you will very quickly discover the why, and it is birthed from my past history, my experiences, my exposures, and one that you will feel and anchor into this very episode. And it's been such a pleasure to meet Ashe along my journey of the why, and to see her do what she does now is just incredible.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. And Nadine is an absolute powerhouse. You have this innate nature to make people feel so seen and heard, and there will be way more about that later. But speaking of your previous life, how did you get to be doing this amazing work that you were doing?
Yeah, look, it feels like I've lived so many lifetimes before this one. To name a few, I joined the military when I was 17, so I've had a long-standing career in uniform. I joined the Royal Australian Air Force at 17, as I mentioned, in an aircrew position. I later commissioned to a nursing officer role as well. So with that, I've also been an emergency registered nurse. I've done work in intensive care, in infectious diseases. I've had a wealth of experiences in a nursing capacity. If I was to keep on going, I've been a personal trainer. I've ran health and fitness coaching businesses. I've always been that person to do a million things at once. And I think we can all know, whether that's you or someone you know, just that person that runs a million miles an hour and has all the hats and wearing a number of roles at once. That was definitely me. Yeah, a mum. Exactly. And then there's been so many things that have happened since those careers and those identities and roles that I've played in the past that have led me to really transitioning out of those positions and those identities in society that have led me to here, which now supports those in their life. So whether it's a career transition, whether it's someone going, fuck, I do not like what I do anymore, and or healing from traumas or beliefs or patterns or even societal conditioning of who the fuck am I outside of the role of a mum, a personal trainer, a nurse, a friend, a teacher, daughter, sister, all the things. That is probably a nutshell.
I actually didn't realise that you were so young when you made that decision to join the army. What was the decision-making process to do that?
You know what? It was actually me playing it so safe, and the reason why I say that is because my whole family was in the military. Right. So when people go, whoa, that's such a cool and brave thing to do at 17, it actually wasn't. When I reflect back on it, it was a really safe thing for me to do, because whilst I was the female to go and do that, I have brothers and whatever else in our family. A lot of the males went to join the military. I was one of the few females that did. However, again, when I talk about that safety, it was what I knew. It was what the conversations I was around. It was we were the family with a very very strong lineage of military customs and traditions. So for me to join, it was no surprise to my friends, no surprise to my teachers or cohort, anybody in my family either.
It was like kind of a meant to be, and it's definitely, I feel like now knowing that, it's almost like you were destined for service, and over the span of your life it's evolved into different forms of service.
Absolutely. From a young age, absolutely. I think, again, it was around me. It was definitely the way in which my family always operated. However, again, even if you think from my Air Force career to my emergency nursing career, which is in the same, I was doing that at the same time. That is of service to people, of service to help, to support, to lead, to, do the hard things. So it definitely is a transition and has been such a stepping stone to where I am now, that's for sure.
And I guess also being in those roles of even just from being in the ICU, then in the military, then also being a personal trainer, all the different mindsets that you see from such an array of different people going through different life transitions too.
Yeah, and I love that you've mentioned that, because if you were to look at all areas of life, I've seen the entry, the end, the all things in between. I've witnessed and seen people that have looked after themselves in health or not. I've seen people at their most vulnerable and not. I've seen people make great decisions and people make ordinary decisions. I've seen people and bear the consequences of that in trauma or whatever that looks like. I've seen people at their best. I've seen it at their worst. And I think, again, that very piece for me has allowed me to see, feel, discover and know things that I just truly believe you cannot replicate elsewhere until you've seen it, experienced it, and then, transcended from it for sure.
Yeah, you're exactly where you need to be. And the work that you do is incredible. Nadine and I actually met in a mastermind group together and we were like, yay, like Gold Coast girls, like, hey. But you are actually not always a Gold Coast girl. There is so much too. There was like surprise after surprise. Every time I spoke to you, I was like, what? You do what? So tell us about how you live the day to day.
Yeah, it's so funny because people, even those close to me, are like, what? When did you do that? Or hang on, when did you have time for that moment? Again, we're really flicking through so many different things here. However, yes, you and I met through a mastermind, and at the time, and we still are, we're one of those crazy families that chose and have decided to do life however we damn well choose. And what I mean by that is, we packed up our home, we bought a caravan, and we're traveling Australia at the moment in a van while homeschooling our kids, while running our businesses, whilst working on us, while having stillness, spaciousness, all the things. And it's so much more than just the caravan. More recently, we just jumped on a flight, went to Indo. Next thing we're looking at, hiring a yacht and maybe doing some traveling in a yacht for a bit. Again, we've beautifully created this life and this way of life and lifestyle that we really get to put ourselves and our family first. And when I consider and reflect on the last, I'm going to even say 15, 20 years of my life, I've actually dedicated myself to other people. And I decided that it gets to be both, and I get to also create whatever it is I wish to create whilst doing the thing for myself and my family. So yeah, in more recent years, and certainly since I've met you, we've gone from, okay, let's start putting ourselves truly first, and then we've 10x that, and we're doing the thing whilst leading and mentoring and coaching so many people to discover that for themselves too.
Yeah, your energy is so damn electric. And you think, I'm going to go around the world in a caravan too. And then I'm like, I could not do that ever with my kids. But you have two beautiful boys and a dog, and you do all the things with running your business and traveling, and you have a beautiful relationship with your husband, Dane, which we'll get into more about Dane later. Yes. But you two have really created this abundant life for yourselves by your own transitions through life and connecting closer. And a lot of the products and services that you offer within your business are really for the family units, which is what I was really drawn to when I saw your suite of offers, that I was like, oh wow, you are so inclusive to where people are at the different stages of their lives. And at first I was like, but how do you do all the damn things? But again, pocket rocket powerhouse, that as you hear Nadine speak, you know that this is innately you, and you have this beautiful gift to be able to serve others and bring out of them what they need to get out. And we witnessed that in a special time that we had together. And after the mastermind that we're in finished, Nadine, I had mentioned that I had been on a retreat, and for all of those that are loyal listeners, you'll remember this episode from season 1 where I spoke about my soul searching, kind of eat, pray, love moment where I took myself to Bali and went on a retreat. I won't get into that one today, but if you do want to listen, it is season 1, episode 4. It's called Say My Name, and it's a very different it's a very different take on the experience that I had when I attended Nadine's retreat. What month was that?
It would have been February.
Yeah, March. Yeah. I think it was March. And this was the Rise 2.0 retreat, which I'm going to let you talk about it first. What was the creation behind Rise 2.0?
Yeah, so we have the utmost pleasure and privilege of leading so many humans online and also face-to-face, and Rise is our women's transformation retreat. And when we say transformation, we're talking all-encompassing, like healing, transformation, growth, next level steps. We don't want people to just heal and then be like, now what? Now what from this? We want to, and again, this is just from our own journey of our own discovery and self-discovery and healing, growth and transformational work. So we went, look, we can't find, because we did all the things, retreat spaces that not only focus on the past, the present, collapse time into the future as well. How can we create that? So we really, over the more recent, months and years actually, went, we're going to do and create what no one else is, right? And that is, again, and really collapsing what is our past things that beautifully lead us to where we are currently, and likewise can continue to lead us when we look at it at a different light for the future. So Rise Women's Retreat, or the transformational retreat that is Rise, and we've got a males one called Resolve, and then we've also got a couples one which is called United. Now these are all based on the ethos of Rise. So Rise was actually first, and it's about, no matter the story, no matter the history, no matter the past, no matter the experience, no matter the preconceived idea, whatever it is, that we can choose to rise. And whether that's a rubble, whether that's from a low-lying valley or a fucking mountain peak, whatever it is, at any point we can rise, and we can rise again. So similar to you when you came on retreat, there's people there that were ready to, their face is, that was all about healing. For some people, the preference or the focus was actually for their next bit, for their next evolution, for their next rise, because we always get to. So arguably, and some of our favorite passion project of what we do is actually our face-to-face retreats, because there is something to be said when you're online, and online is very powerful and potent, and we on the basis, our work is online. However, when you are in people's energy and you are able to feel into them physically, and then again, we do a lot of work here, not just on this plane, it's very, there's 3D, there's 5D, there's spirituality, there's intuition, there is so much that we bring into our retreats, and to have that happen in just a 3-day period, it is a prime example of what can be collapsed from years and years and decades. And for some of the women and men and couples that we work through, there's generations of trauma or beliefs or patterns or whatever it is that can literally be collapsed beautifully in a 3-day weekend. And we're here hugely changing the old paradigms of, hey, changing your life is really hard. That's an old paradigm. Healing from big things, whilst can be uncomfortable, it can also be very comfortable to do. It doesn't have to take years, whilst it's taken years to create them potentially. When you choose in one weekend, if you desire, it can all change, and a whole new model of the world can be created and repatterned from that point on. So it's pretty remarkable what happens, and one that you got to experience.
Yeah, fucking mind blowing actually. And everyone knows that I don't talk shit. And so when I paid for the retreat, and I was just like, well, I'm just going because Nadine's doing it. I know it's going to be good. I didn't even really read what it was about, which is very me, very true to me. I'm like, oh yeah, pictures, and this is what happened at the first retreat, so I should have learnt my lesson. But I was like, no, trust you wholeheartedly, spent all these weeks with you hearing what you're about. And I was like, yeah, no, that sounds amazing. I'm like, I'm ready to rise, woo. And so I was like, okay. And then when I, the day that I was leaving to drive down, Eden was like, so what are you doing? I'm like, I don't actually know. I'm like, shit.
I better check that out.
I still didn't. I'm like, no, this is where I need to be. You know, I'm committed regardless. I'm not going to pull out. So let's go and let's see what it's about. And then like I've arrived and I'm like, Nadine, like, hi. And then I was like looking around and I was like, oh, like I'm starting to like really feel this energy that something really big is about to happen. I don't know what it is. And then it was so in the most beautiful location, and all the food, everything was just done to like 5-star, which makes healing and everything is so much better if you're in a really comfortable environment, because it can be, as you said, uncomfortable, but doesn't have to be. And when it looks like that, it's definitely less uncomfortable.
Yes.
And when we first arrived, and it was this, we had this beautiful, this still blows me away, that this is, I think, one of the most grounded things I've ever seen anyone do. And from that moment, I really took in how selfless you were in this experience. And it was from the very beginning with the foot soaking.
Oh, yeah.
And you had a lot of beautiful support coaches there with you, but you got involved.
Yeah.
And you were like soaking people's feet. And I was like, holy shit. I'm like, this woman is incredible. And so we had this beautiful foot soak to open, and then it was this, the smoking and the clearing of the energy and what we're declaring to like walk into the house. So you can talk about this part because I was just still like standing there and I was like, oh, I don't want to go first. I'm feeling very nervous now. And then I ended up going last. And then I was like, okay, I'm really not here for the same reason as everyone else at this point.
Yeah, you know, everyone comes onto retreat for different reasons. However, often we realise that then there's overlap and there's a beautiful intersection for everybody, which is just so freaking awesome. And that's, you know, that's the divine law of freaking oneness and interconnectedness, which is awesome. So, yes, how we open our retreat and the intention for our retreat, I always get goosebumps even talking about it, is really, it's so purposeful. And it's so, again, if the reason and how we open them is the reason and why they're so potent during and after. And what we know to be really true is people, it's a big deal to go on a retreat, particularly if it's healing and transformational work. And there is so much work that goes outside of the retreat that we do, spiritually, energetic work, the space, the place, how we even prepare ourselves in lead up. And as you said, and a few people said it, even those that aren't new to or are new to spiritual work or intuitive practices or anything like that, they can feel it as soon as they arrive. And again, that is by no coincidence, by no chance, we create this. And it is big on, especially for women on women's retreats, that they've just likely lived a life before that moment where they don't know how to receive, right? And they've lived perhaps a lot in their masculine. They've done a few things in the feminine a little bit. However, they actually don't know the safety of being in their divine, true feminine. So we go into this like pretty much straight away. And what's really potent, and I love that you mentioned that, was we can do that at any time and be on the other end. So I am immersing myself in there. I am literally beautifully washing, and there's more to that story. It's about cleansing the woman's feet before they ground on the earth, that they're the earth is about to carry their hardships. They're about to hand over what is no longer theirs to carry, and perhaps for some people what has never been theirs to carry as well. So there's so much to that grounding and the foot soak. However, it's also, give me a fucking foot soak, please. How often do women go, you know what, I'm allowed to have this in this moment. And, you know, we're putting milk through it. We're putting like beautiful florals, and like it's just such a sensory experience. And then at the same time, we're welcoming them to the beautiful space and the honourable space that we're bringing them onto, and acknowledging those, you know, past and present that are there physically with us and in other realms. So it is definitely an introduction and a declaration that we create straight away. It's an intention that is really, really important, and one that we're really proud of how we introduce people onto retreat, and because that then sets the tone. And what happens straight away is an element of safety. And for us, for people to release some really big things, they need to feel safe. And as you said, it's not just myself and husband comes on there with me. There is a few people that join us on retreats alongside us, and everyone must feel safe in order for them to let down their guard for potentially the first time in their life. And what happens on retreat is truly profound. They start sharing things that no one knows, and they start sharing with the other women, with the other, the other team members that are on there with us. And again, it starts from before they even step on that step, where we're supporting them in lead up. There's, contact beforehand. And again, as soon as they step on, there's a declaration, exactly what you were saying before. And it's deciding, hey, are you here? Are you willing to do what it takes despite the fear, despite the discomfort? And so far, and I know this, everyone stays and decides to do it, because I give them the option. You may remember that. I say, you can go, right? Because what we always want, is everyone's buy-in and all-in moment. And if it doesn't feel, and that's just this opportunity for this choice piece, and for me to go, you always have responsibility and choice in yourself. And if this doesn't feel right, you get to go. And of course, I always go, how about if this moment is actually why you must stay? Yeah. And it's really cool when people go, holy shit, that's the reason why.
Yeah, it was truly an incredible experience. And I obviously, what happens on retreat kind of stays on retreat. I'm not here to divulge other people's reasons why or their breakthroughs or anything like that. And your social media is actually a beautiful showcasing. Everyone is so open to sharing their experiences, lots of video footage of the things that happen. And I believe that's because they, hand on their heart, know that the breakthroughs that they have, everyone should be able to experience that in their life and reap those rewards of getting uncomfortable, doing the big things, feeling safe, feeling connected, meeting like-minded people, because, we all, I shouldn't blanket it, but we all kind of care what people think at some stage in our life, and doing this deep work can make you feel that real vulnerability hangover sometimes too. I think I had a slump maybe on day 2 of the retreat, because there was a lot of big things being spoken about. And again, while everyone was on the process to rising, I was kind of thought I was done with my healing and I was just there to rise. And then but along the process, it made me have this huge sense of gratitude for the work that I had done, and that I was no longer in these dark places. Even though I feel like the work is never done, there was big enough shifts that I was okay, I feel really safe. I see the light. I'm moving towards it. I've had my breakthroughs. I still have my slips and my moments, but one of the activities that, what do you call them? Activities? Processes. Yeah, I'm welcome to school camp, guys. Today's activity is. I knew you'd correct me when I said it. I'm that's not the word. It's not the bloody word. The whole weekend was truly beautiful, but these processes, again, as you said, they're all intentionally designed for this process. Was one of them was this sensual activity, which I feel Eden and I have a very good sexual relationship, but I'm also not very sexual with women. So I was what are we doing? What are we doing? But again, all beautifully well put together. And after the initial 2 minutes, I was okay, I really see what this is about. And I'm glad that I'm doing, especially for the partner that I had on the retreat, who was definitely going through her own things, that, I was when was the last time you were sexually, sensually touched to feel good for yourself? What do you desire? And explain this activity, because I don't want to butcher it. I don't want to butcher it.
So now our retreats are some sexual retreat. People are getting naked. No, it's not that, guys.
Dancing around the woods naked. Look, fully clothed activity, guys.
Yes, this is definitely
your senses, not sensual. Sorry, senses.
So it's called a sensory overload, and I mean that with every inch of its being too. So going even back to the start, it's so interesting that what we see a lot of is women and men, because we actually do an interesting thing like this for men, and that might seem really wildly weird. However, this is what I mean by this type of work and why we have the results that we have and why people are changing their life with this is, so, you know, what we're seeing is a lot of people in the race and the chaos of this life truly starting to really move away from the basics and the foundations and the simplicities of pleasure. And when we talk about pleasure, we're talking about like the pleasure in conversation, the pleasure in food, the pleasure in your friendship groups, the pleasure also in intimacy, like all of that. And it's so interesting to, especially with women that have had trauma or have had some big events happen in the past, that they're actually consciously and unconsciously have blocked themselves off from pleasure. So, and again, pleasure in all its forms. So the quickest and the most rapid way to get a woman back in her feminine is actually through pleasure. And it can be as simple as this process. And this process allows for, you know, when we put the women into partners and we have all these different, we blindfold them and we have different tastes that they go through, different things that they feel on their body, and it's just simple, sensual, however, a sensory touch piece. So that it's what they can hear, it's what they can taste, it's what they can feel, it's words that are spoken, so it's audible, it's the whole sensory piece. Now again, you know, it's all giggly, it's all the things, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is so funny, we're doing this, you know, with the group of girls and all the things. Similar to, even though that the footpath and the foot touch, it's being able to receive this and also be like, you know what, I'm allowed to let my guard down. I don't have to be in the doing. I don't have to be necessarily in the doing for everybody else. I'm actually able to receive love, because that's what that comes down to too. Some women, and you know, this is definitely a podcast for another day, it's that receivership of love that is really difficult to receive, and that is because of the love that they don't have yet for themselves. So, you know, that process is a number of things. However, it's also, it's first of all putting them straight into their femme, so that for the rest of the retreat we can support them to overcome what they need to do or need to whilst being in their feminine, which is really important. And B, start putting them into a place of, I'm allowed to receive and be in pleasurable states more than what I am not allowing myself to be in. And the thing is these pleasurable moments we can do on our own. So, and I'm not speaking just masturbation, but yes, masturbation is one too.
All forms.
Right? All forms of pleasure. So, you know, there's tickling your arm. That's a form of pleasure. That feels nice. You know, again, these practices and these processes that we put these women through is actually the most simple of ways to bring ourselves back into our body. And what we're seeing a lot of women right now, they are so out of their body. And how are we meant to heal, discover who we are, discover what we want to do, have clarity in our life, have more intimacy and love in our life, love our children at the most, if we do not have that for ourselves. And that list could just keep on going. So that is that process. It gets really funny. It also can be really emotional, and it can also be like, holy shit, this feels good. I'm allowed to feel this. I'm allowed to feel it, whether it's with a woman, with a friend, with my partner. For a lot of the women, and I remember you sharing this, they were like, I want to do this with my husband. And it's like, absolutely. It could take you 2 minutes if you want to.
Yeah. And part of that process was being blindfolded. Is at first, like, the person that wasn't blindfolded was kind of just navigating whatever they thought, and then it was like, now you need to ask what you want more of.
Yes.
And that was a really big piece too, because like receiving's one thing, but then actually having courage and confidence to ask for what felt good. Like there was this section, as I said, we like, you know, defined what they were receiving, and then it was like, okay, well now you'd like stop, and they need to be like more chocolate, more another blueberry, like, you know, more tickle. I liked when you touched my neck, like all that sort of stuff. And it was really interesting to see the giggling did subside after like the first like 2 minutes, and then it was really this like state of just like pleasure, but also this gratitude of being in that environment and, you know, feeling really safe and really comfortable to, you know, speak what you desire.
And I think, you know, it's the biggest permission piece to go, right, how can I map this across in my life? So after the retreat, people like, I started asking for what I wanted in the workplace, in the bedroom, in the, you know, wherever it looks like. And again,
whatever feels good.
Whatever feels good. And that is so simple. And again, you know, largely we do a lot of things that are complex and a lot of things that are, you know, way more complex than that. However, on the most part, what we discover and what we continue to ram home to those that enter our world is the simple and the foundations. The world is moving well away from them, and it's about bringing them back and then building from there.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, again, the whole weekend, like I'm still like mind blown because the significant difference of what I experienced on the level of safety at your retreat is incredible for the work and the unlocks and unblocks, all the things that happen. Like there were so many things that like, again, what happens on retreat stays on retreat. And if you have any really powerful stories from that weekend that you know that those people would be happy to share, then that's fine. But I'm not going to take it upon myself to talk about their stories.
Yeah, look, it's so interesting you say that because sometimes people go, I really don't want any of my stuff shared. And we take full, like, absolutely, you know. And though, guess what? Of those people that have said that, they've all gone, no, I want you to share my stuff now. And the reason being because then they've gone, how about because a friend or someone has seen the way in which they are now or whatever, and they're like, I want to liberate other women to feel that. It would be
release the shame. Release the shame.
Exactly. Yeah. Literally one of them was like, it would be a disservice if I didn't share that. They asked our film crew,
sing it from the mountain.
Can I grab the footage? I want to share about this. And this is when I go, yes, because the more we talk about it, the more we create it, the more we
normalize it.
So normalized about it, the more we're actually opening the conversation of like
healing the world, making a better place.
Yes, though. Like
this is the work.
And you know what I love? Men are probably even more so about that. Men go, I need to take this to my workplace. I need my brother or my, uncle.
The stigma is huge for men, which it just blows my mind.
It's wild what we see in the men's space and what is now happening as a result, and the ripple effect of that is huge. And it's and again, I love women's work. There is something to be said for men's work because, of course, as you can imagine, we have the women come on retreat, and 9 times out of 10, I'm going to say they're like, how do I get my man to do the work?
I heard that a lot.
Yeah.
Or they had already been.
And when they get then their men to do the Resolve retreat, and then they're coming on to do the United Couples retreat, like honestly, that is, well, it's the creme de la creme. That's when you see two humans in partnership or in relationship or however it looks like, that just... Well, yes, it's heal, it's transform, it's grow, and then actually there is no stopping them.
Yeah. And again, the next process, which Dane, hubby, was actually a part of this because one of the things I found really interesting that you shared when we arrived is that, a male coach or what do you call it? Facilitator?
Yeah, facilitator.
There we go. Again, with the words. Male facilitator comes on the women's retreats and a female facilitator goes on the men's retreat. So there is that masculine femme energy there too. So Dane was actually present for about a whole day and there was a number of different processes that we went through on that day. And again, this character process, which like I had never seen before, and I was so skeptical about it when it started because I was like, how are these people like? Yeah, I was like how are they like really going to do this? And you explained the process, and then I'll share a little bit more on like what I was like. No one's doing this. Like this is not going to work. And I was like, holy fuck, this is real. Like this is real,
legit. I'm having a little giggle to myself because in one breath we're like sensory, sexual stuff. Next minute we're dressing up, we're doing role play. What is this, guys?
It's an R-rated retreat, guys.
No. So this is actually a process called perceptual positions.
That's it. PT. Which also doesn't sound very PG, does it? Now that you've said it.
So good. So
it is, well, there was a lot of swearing going on, but it was definitely not anything sexual.
Look, to put it really simply, because there's so many layers to it, and yes, going back to what you were saying, with every bit of intention, there's men work, women's work, and on both of those, we bring the opposing gender to it and there's a reason for it. And one, it's to support the energetics piece, and two, you actually cannot have true, I will say this, true like divine healing without the other. So because they're opposing, it needs each other for the complete integration.
The yin and the yang.
The yin and yang, right? All of it. So we're very intentional on that. And you know, whenever I go on the men's retreat, I always thank them. Hey, thank you so much for having me on retreat. However, having me and the women on retreat is actually really important to your retreat. It's vital, actually. And we see that. And likewise, we have the men come on our retreat, or on the women's retreat. So Dane comes on and we start this perceptual position process. And you know, we're in circle, and each person and how we set it up and even set the intention for it is you know, safety is paramount. As you can imagine, this is the second day now, and by now we do a thing very consciously of we're basically loosening grips. We're loosening that tightness and the wound up of women, and we've done it with the night before with the sensory overload, XYZ. By the time we're at this bit, we're pretty happy to, even though it feels uncomfortable, to step up in front of everybody and start, you know, making some declarations, start putting yourself on the in the space to take up space, okay? And generally here it's actually about a thing or multiple things or a person in your life that has largely shaped a moment in time that has gone on to hugely define the rest of your life. So it might have been a parent, it may have been a past partner, it may have been you know, a child, it may have been again an event in a collective of people. So as you can imagine, perceptual position, and the reason why that name is that, it's actually allowing our unconscious, because a lot of the work that we do is the dance between the conscious and the unconscious, and actually rewiring the neurological picture that we have in our mind. And the only way we can do that is matching between the mind and the conscious mind, the unconscious mind, and also anchoring that to a new feeling. So a lot of this work is, as you can imagine, very omnidirectional. It's very, there's so many layers. So the perceptual position allows the person on retreat or the guest on retreat to come up and really start speaking into their experience. And then with the support and the leadership of the facilitators, and as you can imagine, we already know parts of their story through the lead up and their onboarding of this person. So we already know the traumas. We already know the things that are so far have held them, even though there's been some unconscious ones that may have been repressed that people don't know until they come on retreat. And that's something that we're really open about. Are you willing to explore things that you may not know, or your unconscious mind has actually blocked off for preservation or for protection until you're ready to release them? And often I think that's something to be said right now for anybody listening. Is there anything that you know, and potentially could you be open to the fact that there could be things that you don't know that are harboring inside you, and the body keeps score. So there is physical and emotional trauma that is stored in our body. And perceptual position, and this is what you witnessed, was one where we face that. When we're willing to face that, and it can be really uncomfortable work, and start sharing, speaking, acknowledging where that trauma and where that emotion is sitting in the body, we can actually work through removing or moving that emotion and that trauma that is stored. And that is what perceptual position does. So the best way to describe it is this dance of energy, this dance of spirit, this dance of conversation, this dance of declaration, and with powerful facilitation and someone really leading, because that's what's needed as well. It's someone trusting their spirit, their guide. We open up many portals as well in the space, and then it starts. Then it's like an uncovering, and it's not just like Band-Aid. It's literally like, where do we feel this? There's anger release, there's rage release, there is words, there are not words, there is vomiting, there is excavation of big traumas, big emotions. And it isn't immediate. So sometimes it can take 15 minutes for one person, an hour, 2 hours, whatever it takes. And we were there for a few hours there where we went around each person. And again, because safety is paramount for us, we don't go, okay, you're next. We just go, you will know when you're up. And you have people that before they're even up, they know, they're like, I feel sick already. I can't. They're pacing, they're doing the thing. And this is why freaking we love it, is the willingness of people once they're in the right space and they feel safe to do that, and they know they're held and they've been dropped into their feminine. They have already some tools and resources. They know they're going to be supported in this space. They've realized by this point, either hold on to this for the rest of my life and be really fucking uncomfortable and have it always there and have it repressed or whatever, and notice that that is actually the thing that's holding me back, or the reason why certain ailments or things are happening for me at the moment, or I face the wind now and get this done. And it's so cool, particularly seeing women and seeing men too do this process, because you see them decide, you actually physically feel them, whether it's for the peers or the facilitators or myself and I'm leading that, you actually see a human fucking decide.
Totally.
Like, decide.
And some people even went back in. They're like, half an hour later, they're like, no, I'm not done. I'm not done. And like when you said before, like the rage release, that is by far the best description, because some of the quietest people on the whole retreat in that moment had the rage to get out. That it had just been stuck in them, like repressed rage, where they're the quiet, polite, and they're just carrying this burden of this rage that when they're alone they probably feel it, but when they're in a bigger group, like it's still there, but they're putting on this pretend like face. And seeing how many people were 12?
That was
10?
No, that was 10 on that one.
10.
We keep them intimate.
And again, just the difference in why people were there. Everything came out in that circle.
Oh, yeah. And I love that you said that, because there were people that went, hang on a second, like, there's more, or there's somebody else, there's another event, something's just pop up for me. And when I say, some people are hours, some people are 15 minutes, there is, like, it is so profound what can happen very quickly, and you witness this. So, and this is why we love what we do, because quite literally, once you do that, you will see someone just drop to the floor or go, it's gone. My weight, you'll hear them, you felt it. There's like, you physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally just see a person completely shift and change. You literally see and feel a weight, almost like this backpack just
the
drop.
lightness.
This lightness. We saw women that their eyes were just clear as day. It went from like soul, like pitting.
Well, some people weren't even making eye contact with other people up until that point. And then after they had their time. And I think one of the really key things is that when you said it's at a 15 minutes, an hour, half an hour, whatever, the space was just held no matter what. There was no like buzzer, like you're taking up too much space, like move it along. It was this beautiful that like however long this process takes, we're here for you. Take up the space, like the encouragement to just take up the space. You have invested in yourself to be here. We are here for you to take up as much space as you don't get to take up in your everyday life, whether you're in a relationship that doesn't allow that, or your kids, you devote all your time to your kids, or whatever it is. It was made very abundantly clear from the moment that we entered, these spaces for you, take as much as you want.
Absolutely. And you know what I loved is that then each other, all of the girls in, and this happens, it's everywhere. We all want to see other women heal from their traumas. So that like the other girls are then like, go for it. Go girl, go.
Get it, girl.
Like it is so liberating to see that, and everyone, and you realize, holy shit, everyone here does want me to overcome this. They do, and it's like, I'm taking up fucking space. And to see those women do that, and since then we've had multiple more retreats, and it's just like, far out. It's one thing to witness it, it's another thing to experience it yourself, and then it's another thing to actually hold it and witness something like that, because we now can't unsee what we see every day, and what gets to happen really quick for individuals when they decide. And there are so many opportunities and times on the retreat where people are like, oh, this is uncomfortable, and it's up to us to go, I get it, I see you, and also have this moral courage to go, what is more uncomfortable, like give them choice and autonomy, and also beautifully guide them and give them the gentle push that they need to go, hey, this is your time, it's now. Because it's so easy to turn around and go, oh, this is too uncomfortable. And it's not until I start speaking, particularly to the mums, like, you don't clear it in you, you're giving it to your kids, with the fucking hope that they're going to do it one day. And if not them, then who is it after that? So then it's your grandkids. Like, and I always just continue to really, you know, drop in that message of let's be the line in the sand. Let's be the one. Let's be the person in our lineage that finally decides enough is enough. Let's lead with so much love that the ultimate form of love is I am willing to do what it takes that those before me that may not have had the resources, the energy or the strength or the whatever it needs, those before me couldn't do, I'm going to do that now because we have the resources.
Be the change.
Now. Be the fucking change. And again, like we're seeing it hugely transform whole families' lives as a result of doing that work. And then kids, our kids, we've seen it in our own children. We do the work. Our kids no longer have to carry things that are no longer theirs or have never been theirs to carry. And the same story was for us. We were carrying things. I was carrying things. My husband was carrying things. All of our clients were carrying things that actually, yes, there were parts that were theirs, right? And that's your responsibility to heal. Then there's parts that actually isn't yours that unconsciously or consciously you didn't even know you were carrying until you do this kind of work. And that's just that process. Then we have ones that go like way back into timelines and that's another whole bloody scenario yet again when we're collapsing them to the forefront. So yes, it's a very powerful process.
It was, and full disclosure, I did participate, but I didn't participate, if that makes sense in that. And, you know, I was sitting there like, you know, who's my person? Like, who do I have this release that I need to have? And, you know, you're so patient with me because you're like, how you feeling? And I'm like, I'm feeling for everyone else. Like I'm like here and I'm like, these people are so brave and they're so willing to share and do this. And I was like, felt like I was almost going to have to make something up to participate. Like, I was like, oh, and then am I being the fucking downer of the group that's like, you know, why can't you just get up there and like say something? We're all sharing and like, what are you hiding? Like, this is the story that I was like telling myself. And I was like, and then I was like, even when I left, I was still like asking myself, did I hold back or was I being truthful? Like what was going on there? And I was like, I did say to you at the time, I was like, I really feel like I've done work in the past where I've had these conversations, whether it was in therapy or other modalities that I've done where I have let go of this and it's not going to be healthy for me to go back and revisit it when it's not coming up for me, when I'm sitting here trying to rack my brain, that's going too deep. Like, you know, and I felt the need to like almost apologize to everyone because, you know, they allowed me to be a part of their healing. And I felt so drained after holding space for hours. But also I felt heavy and light at the same time. Like it was a really weird feeling. I was like, okay, I need to definitely go to my room for like 45 minutes, which we had free time after that to, and you know, if people wanted to hang out together and keep talking, they could, or if some people needed a nap, like, you know, it was a big afternoon and definitely big work. But what I saw in everyone throughout that, and also hats off to the facilitators because that was fucking incredible to stand there and have someone envisage them to be this person, be sworn at, like nothing got violent or anything like that, but, you know, being sworn at and just being there and holding that space, letting them have this rage release or emotional release. You know, there was others that were like sobbing, but they had it in their mind that this was really that person, and some of the people were no longer in their lives and they didn't get the opportunity to have these conversations but were holding on to this in their life, and then they got that opportunity to have this conversation that they never got to have, or maybe it was the tip of the iceberg that they've now, you know, mentally accepted that they have had this conversation, they're going to go have it for real.
It's super cool. Like, again, unconsciously and consciously, there's new pictures that were created, new pathways, new moments for that, wherever that was sitting. And for some people it was in their throat, what they weren't saying, and we physically saw and were able to see people go, it's in my I actually got it's here,
like
it's
coughing,
here, and
like,
they're coughing, they're doing all the thing, or it's in their belly, like. And again, without going, you know, down another whole rabbit hole, again, we've witnessed and seen and transcended people in this work that previously had concerns like in their throat or in their belly in terms of like
medical
ailments, health ailments.
Yeah.
Once they did this, Gonski, they went and then had a blood test or a routine checkup, and they're like, what's happened? And again, now for us, and I can speak that so confidently, I'm a registered nurse, right? So it's like, I get that, and I see science, and I see the space for all of it. And this is a huge area that I believe right now it's on the rise. However, we have to give more preference and reverence for it and start incorporating this into the work, because this, timed with incredible medicine, timed with technology, timed with, if we can beautifully intersect all of these parts of modalities, different ways in which we can heal and transform and be medicine to people, then fucking hell, we can literally heal the world in one fucking generation. Yes. No shit.
And open up the mind. It's not, I am a firm believer that if you need medication and anything in your life, go for it. But there are so many people that don't try. Pardon me, I nearly spat on you there. That don't try something outside of the box because maybe there's no awareness there, or it kind of sounds a bit woo-woo, but like the body, you said it before, the body knows. The body knows. And for me, one of the things I had done before in the past was sound healing, which I really enjoy, and that was included in this retreat. And that was one of the most special moments, I think. Yeah, so beautiful. One of the most special moments I've probably had in my entire life. And to paint a little picture, we're all on this beautiful deck under the beautiful stars where we were staying, and there was a beautiful facilitator that came in to do the sound healing. There was candles, there was blankets. And I've actually never done breath work incorporated with sound healing before. I'd done them separately. Yeah. And wow. First of all, wow. Again, I have my own vulnerability issues that I'm definitely working on, and I've definitely had the mindset over the years of I tell myself I'm okay. And then when the sound healing started, I've had the relaxing type where, you kind of drift off all that subconscious, but with the breath work you're not drifting off. You're fully present in whatever is about to transpire, and it was very wild. And I was concentrating on the breath for a big part of it, and there was beautiful music and everything was just so perfect. And at one point I had to open my eyes and just stare at the sky, and obviously for me that's a big representation of all my loved ones that are in the sky. But at this point in time I was especially thinking of Horn, my journey, and I just had tears streaming. And I don't cry a lot, and let alone I don't know, it was weird that for me it was a big release. But when he checked in on me, it was just this, again, the safety of being stroked and held, and you were do you want to close your eyes? And I was like, I will again, but for this moment I'm just connecting up here. And I was crying because, one, I was so grateful for where I was and the space that I was in, but I was also really grateful that I was brave enough to go on my own healing journey, all those years ago, and still be dedicated to the process, and still be able to show up and not be oh, that happened 7 years ago, you should be over that by now, 100%. Which is a lot of, the stigma that's around, the time around when, people have grief, trauma or loss in their life, that there should be a certain point where it stops hurting, or you don't think about it, or you don't feel it anymore. And it wasn't until that moment. And Higher Love is one of my most favorite songs in the whole world, again, because it was always me searching for this higher love that isn't coming from a person, it's the connection to myself and what I can create in my life. And by this point I was hyperventilating, crying, the tears are just coming out, and I'm I'm okay, and you're keep breathing. I'm how do you breathe when you're crying? And that was such a perfect way to finish the evening. And it's the last night of the retreat too. And after not fully participating in the positions thing. I was like, you know, like you were committing to this, like to really see what comes up for you. And again, it just solidified to me in the earlier piece that like I was there to be grateful. And to rise. And you know, we always, and don't get me wrong, if I probably went on the retreat now, I'd have some shit I need to let go of, but at that moment in time, that is where I was. And that I just, you know, left just feeling this like awe of gratitude that some of the issues that were happening in my life was so minute in the comparison to things that I have been through. And sometimes you just lose that perspective because time does progress and you forget about, you know, how far we've all come.
Yeah, you know, I love that you say that because we've had multiple people now, particularly on our one women's retreat since yours and another with our male, where it's been someone that is there for their next evolution. And someone, particularly with our male retreat, we had another really well-known human that does a lot of this work as well, and he came on our retreat to just see what else is more for him, and it was really a space of huge gratitude and reflection and reverence and just this acceptance for where he was then. And there wasn't necessarily healing. It was actually just a reaffirming of his mission and his path. And yes, we do things like the Akashic records and had gone down many different journeys and breath experiences. And it was just more of this divine conversation over those few days of confirmation of what he's here to do. And you know, again, that's the beauty of this work. So whether or not someone is literally in dire straits, they're in the middle of like, you know, they're ready to remove some things fast in their current or in their past, or whether they're at a part, and this was you, where you were like, hey, I'm here for the next bit. I'm here for that transformation bit. I'm here to collapse time of what was to go right and anchor myself to the now, and then go, what's the, not even the steps, what version of me and what higher self version of me and what love can I bring into the next bit. And it's almost like it's I wouldn't even say like it's a closure of a book. It's almost like just a brand new pen that you're writing a new chapter, and that's what it felt like for you. And it was so wonderful and you know, profound for us to witness you through your journey, and one that, and I know I can speak for this, and one that you always shared, like we don't push anybody, and when you we trust the human for what they are and what they're saying. And it's like, and I physically went, there is nothing for Ashe to bring up right now, and if there was, she would in this moment. And the thing is you know, that's that safety again, that's that trust in your human, if we're all one, to go, cool, then witness this. And even just you witnessing being in that circle was huge revelation for you outside of you.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think there's just so much healing that can be said when it's not you too. And that's why this witness piece, that is why we share in the way, like we are definitely very loud in the ways in which we share certain things with you know, approval and with consent from everybody. They're like, fucking go for it, because that needs to be the conversation. That's what people need to see and feel, because then they go, oh, what? Men doing that, women doing that, how good? Because again, you saw in there, we're leading like 7-figure, 8-figure entrepreneurs down to mums that are like, I don't even know who I am and I'm on Centrelink. And that's perfect, right? Wherever you are on your journey, it actually doesn't matter. If we're all one, we've all got stuff to work through already for the next evolution of us.
Absolutely.
Then let that be. Take up space.
Absolutely. And that's why this was such an important episode for me to record, because obviously I wanted to share the difference of experience, the level that you can really have that transformation, that there are facilitators and businesses out there that are really leading the way and doing the right thing and are focusing on service and focusing on the transformation, and, you know, have everything equipped to be able to support people through the healing journey. Whereas, you know, well, going back in time now, 4 years ago when I went on that retreat, it was so unsafe that I wanted to have a follow-up, in the sense that, you know, it depends where you go. Do your research.
Yeah.
Know who the facilitators are. You know, even do some pre-work with them if you want to really feel that safety to be able to leave your family and go and do those things. Or, you know, say, fuck it. Let's just jump all in. I'm all in. Like, let's go and just do it. And I had such a profound experience, and I still continue to talk about it all the time. And no one would explain it better than obviously you. So I'm so grateful that you came on today to be able to like fix all my bloopers about my way of it. And also for the listeners to get to know you and what you're about, because I've just watched you also being, you know, in the coaching realm myself, that what you facilitated, produced, created was fucking extraordinary. And I just left having even more love and respect for you and Dane and everyone that was there, that dedicating your life to that and holding that much space and energy and being the most fucking incredible person, like more people like you in the world. Like, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mum.
One thing, we just started chatting and your angel card has just been sitting there. Which I knew that would happen with us 100%, but now I'm even more desperate to know what's under there. So please flip it over.
Dear child.
Oh.
My gosh, you care deeply about children and they readily respond to your love. All children, including your own inner child. You know why this is perfect? Because this is a huge ethos and mission behind our work. So yes, I'll just continue reading. Including your own inner child require love, affection, and attention. We can clear and open your heart and schedule so that you can give more time and energy to the children who need you. So like literally that is by no surprise that that's come up, because again, yes, we work with the human as in, and on the most part, they're the adult and they're the parent
and the inner child work.
And the child and the father or the couple and then the family unit, and that's big for us. However, at the bottom end of all of that is actually children, and that's our ethos, because if we're clearing things in ourselves that past generations couldn't do or didn't have the ability to, didn't have the resources to, and that's okay, right? And we get to do that. We're the change for the children in one generation. And I'm big with we do a lot of inner child work. Well, you said that
multiple times throughout the episode. So I'm loving that it's resonating.
I'm loving this. And it's like we do a lot of inner child work. What I know to be really true is the women they're not having any fun or play or adventure. And I say this from a place of where I was. I was like, who am I? What child? What do you mean? I don't know.
You were jumping on that trampoline. You were having a grand old time. I was like, wow, what is going on?
Right. The more that we bring in our inner child, the more that we heal our inner child is when we can start actually passing down to our children what it takes and what it is and what we get to be as humans. Everyone's in this human being. I'm here to show everybody you get to, or the human doing, we get to human being because we're human beings. Love that for us.
Yay. And then to wrap it all up, we are going to do our quick little hot seat. So they can really get to know you if they haven't already. I'm sure they do with that level of depth that you shared. So sunrise or sunset?
It is actually both, Ash.
Take it.
I am on both,
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Beach or bush?
Beach.
Heels or sneakers?
Sneakers.
Water or wine?
Wine.
Brief or bangers?
Oh, brief.
Sweet or savoury?
Sweet.
Book or movie?
Book.
Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Early bird. That is the Flawed and Fabulous podcast with Nadine Muller.
Thank you.
But if everyone wants to connect with you after the episode, where can they find you?
Oh, we are bloody everywhere.
You bloody are.
Oh, look, you can find us at like simply our website or myself, so you'll pop it on the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly, we are just land on in. Just ask the question. If there is something that you're feeling, your head, heart, and soul space, you want to land in, you don't know where to start, there is so many ways. And whether it's a retreat, whether it's something before a retreat, whether you're international, you want to do an online retreat, we have them too. Like there's actually so much, and also the ability to tap into spaces like ours, we've made it so readily available.
Definitely.
So all you need to do is literally just go, hey, this is where I'm at.
Do it for
where
yourself.
Where do I start?
Do it for yourself.
For you first, your kids after, and then watch
the generations after that.
Yes.
Well, thanks for tuning in. I'm Ash, and just remember, we're all flawed, but we're also fucking fabulous.